Act 2, Scene 6, discussion of Romeo and Juliet. So this scene is the marriage of Romeo and Juliet. And this is just with Friar Lawrence and Romeo and Juliet, and then the nurse is a witness. But the scene starts off with just Friar Lawrence and Romeo. Like, sometimes couples, they have marriage counseling before they get married. I know my husband and I did. And it really helped shed light on, our personalities and our beliefs, even though we had dated for over 6 years. Like, that marriage counseling revealed things about us that we didn't know. So the fact that Romeo and Juliet are getting married in less than 24 hours, they barely knew each other. And so Friar Lawrence is trying to have a conversation with Romeo. And he says, "So smile the heavens upon this holy act, that after hours with sorrow chide us not." Like, I hope this all works out. Like, I hope that the future doesn't punish us because of this decision. And then Romeo talks about how he's so joyful and he's excited, and one short minute gives me in her sight this joy. So, like, that's lust, because he's saying that when Romeo sees Juliet, he's just filled with joy. And so that's problematic. One thing that really gets me, I'm about to go off on one of my rants, is when I'm watching, like, The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, and these people are like, "Oh, well, he makes me feel this way," or "she makes me feel this way." Y'all, feelings are only going to get you so far. It's not about feelings. That's going to be a very short-lived relationship, because they are going to fail your feelings one day. So you have to have a foundation before you get into marriage. And so, Romeo's like, "She makes me feel so joyful, so amazing." That's problematic. Then Friar Lawrence says a very important line in this scene. He says, "These violent delights have violent ends." So again, what you take part in now that you were delightful in, it could have a violent ending. It's like that YOLO thing I was telling you about in a previous discussion video. This is a YOLO moment. So what you enjoy now, you're not going to think about the consequences of later. Think about it. And so he says, "And in their triumph die like fire and powder, which as a kiss they consume." And so Friar Lawrence is saying, hey, you know what? You need to think about this. Like, it's not going to be the honeymoon phase forever, Romeo. And then Juliet enters, and then Friar Lawrence says, "Oh, here comes the lady. Oh, she's so light of foot. Look how beautiful she is." And so Juliet says, "Oh, good evening, Friar." And then Friar says, "Okay, Romeo, are you ready to do this?" And he says, Juliet, if the measure of thy joy is like mine, then our love cannot be matched." And so Juliet says that her true love is grown to such excess, "I cannot sum up some of half my wealth." So my love for you, Romeo, has grown so much, I can't even compare it to all the wealth I have. And Friar Lawrence says, "All right, y'all, let's get this show on the road." And then they have a Catholic wedding. And I've seen this scene interpreted in many different ways, but every time I've seen it, Juliet's really kind of immature. And so in the 1996 version with Leo DiCaprio, she's not so much immature, but at the same time, it's important to think they're not thinking about the consequences of anything. So remember, they met on a Sunday night. They got married at lunchtime on Monday. They're going to consummate their marriage Monday night. And then they're just going to be together happily ever after. Which, this is one reason I like the tragedies of Shakespeare, is because happily ever after is really hard to achieve. Like, and I think in young adult literature, which is what you guys would be reading, is that a lot of novels end with happy endings and the bow is tied up. It's not always like that, because we make mistakes. We're human. We don't make the right decisions. And so Romeo and Juliet here, they're not thinking straight because they're lusting after one another, and it's going to get them killed. So here's the theme, like, lust is deadly. Yeah, so think about that. Just think about it.